Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. It is time for our monthly edition of What's New at Ancestry. This is for August 2018. Now, if you've never joined us for What's New episode, we're going to quickly cover some events, some upcoming genealogical events and conferences that you might want to plan for. We're going to talk about some of the new features on the website, and then we're going to take a look at some of the quick new content that's come online over the course of the last month. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk first about events. So coming up this next week in Warsaw, Poland is the International Association of Jewish Genealogical Societies annual conference. Now, at this date, if you're not already planning on going, you probably won't go. However, they will be streaming some of the classes from that event. So if you go to their website, you can find that at iajgs2018.org. You're going to see a link there on their website for on-demand. And you can get information there about the on-demand classes that are going to be available, what that's going to cost, which ones might be of interest to you, and you can go ahead and sign up for those. Now, that's not unusual. A lot of genealogical conferences now are streaming their courses throughout the conference, and then some of them record them and make those recordings available after the event. So if you've never been to a genealogical conference, some of these on-demand or streaming services are a great way to get a taste for what's available at the event. So that, again, is the IAJGS conference being held in Warsaw, Poland this coming week. Now, coming up at the end of August, the 22nd through the 25th, the Federation of Genealogical Societies is having their annual conference. Now, much like IAJGS, FGS rotates cities every year, and this year the conference will be held in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Genealogists know that is important because it is the home to the second largest genealogical library in the world. So besides just being able to go to the conference, you also have the opportunity to do some on-site research in the collections there at the library if you so choose. Now, there is still time to register for this event. The website is fgs.org. You can get all the details there about the conference. Take a look at the conference schedule, see who's speaking, lots of exhibitors in the exhibit hall, including Ancestry. So I will be there. I'm doing a couple of presentations. Also, I'll be in the Ancestry booth when I'm not speaking. And as always, I love to meet you. So if you're going to be in the area attending the conference, please stop by and say hello. I will also make a plug that if you live anywhere within driving distance of Fort Wayne, even if you can't come for the full 3 or 4 days of the conference, the exhibit hall at most genealogical conferences is typically free. So you can come, wander the exhibit hall, sit in on some booth demos, come and meet me. Hopefully that's something that you'll take advantage of. So that is the FGS conference in Fort Wayne at the end of August. FGS has typically been the end of our official genealogical conference season, but the conference season starts all the way back in February. And so I just want to give you a preview of next February so that you can start to make some plans. The largest genealogical conference is Roots Tech. This coming year, it will be held the 27th of February through the 2nd of March, and it's always held in Salt Lake City at the Salt Palace Convention Center. As a matter of fact, I just had a meeting this morning where we were making some plans for some of the things we're going to do for the exhibit hall and for some of our classes as we gear up for that conference. So even though conference season hasn't ended, Ancestry is already planning for the next conference season. Now, if you go to their website, rootstech.org, just bookmark that so that you have information about the date and the event. And as announcements come out about Roots Tech, who's speaking, who's keynoting, what organizations are going to be there, you'll have the opportunity to follow along with that. Also on their website, they have some recordings of classes from this past Roots Tech. So be sure to check that out. And if you've never been to a genealogy conference, certainly something to consider as you continue your genealogical education. Okay, let's talk about product updates next. So we just have one product update this month, which is fantastic. And it seems like a super small thing unless you use the site a lot, in which case it's kind of a big deal, right? So I know you have some of these things. I have some of these things where we're working on Ancestry, we're building our trees, and you kind of go along and you think, I just wish it would do this one little thing, and that would save me some time and some clicks. And so this is one of those things. And if you use the site a lot, you'll get why this is a big deal. So we have enabled quick edit on family members from the profile page on both the facts and the hints tab. So let me show you what that looks like on the site. So if I come here, this is a profile, a person in my tree, right? So this is my great-great-grandfather. And over here on the right-hand side, you see we have his family members, his parents, his wife and children, okay? Those have always been there. Now, a while back, what we enabled was if you just hover over, like move your mouse over any one of these family members, you have the opportunity to quick edit them from right there. And that's great. Like that was something that our users asked for, including myself, and they enabled that a few months ago. Well, if you go to the Hints tab on that profile page, you have those same family members down the side of the page. And it used to be that these were not editable, but now they are. And so we've just enabled that quick edit button right there on the Hints page. This is super useful when you're adding records or information into your tree, and then you need to go adjust information about individuals in the family because of a record you just found. Like maybe you just found a specific birth date or a middle name or a birth location for a person in the family. Instead of having to click through to view their profile and then going up to edit and quick edit, now again, just right here from this profile view, you just move the mouse over, click the edit button, and you can do the quick edit on all the family members, one right after the other, fairly quickly. So that's kind of a fun product update. I'm glad that we got that done for you. Watch in the next coming months for some more fun things that we're working on right now. Let's talk about content. So most of you know that Ancestry adds millions of new records to the website every day, and you know that you can find that new content in the card catalog. So you just click on search, go down to the card catalog. We'll show you all of the new content that's been added. Now, one of the things that we also show you is content that's been updated. And I don't talk a lot about this, but there are two ways to sort that list, added and updated. And updated is just when we take an existing content collection and we expand it. So maybe we add more records, we create an index out of images that have been on the site already. So a couple of things that we're going to talk about when we talk about our content highlights today are the records that we have updated. So let's talk about the added first. So this month we have added the New York State Birth Index for the years 1881 to 1942. And that covers about 4.8 million records in that particular collection. Now, I will point out this is just an index. So that's what the state of New York has provided to Ancestry, is an index to the records. So even though you see this browse box over here, which if you spent time with me, you know usually means there are images, what those are images of the index that was created by the New York State Vital Records. And so this is a searchable index that will tell you that there is a birth record that exists between 1881 and 1942 for the state of New York, and then it will give you the information you need to order a copy of that record from the state of New York. Now, as always, anytime you find a new database on Ancestry, before you just dive in and start filling in those blank search boxes, always scroll down and just double check that source information. That will tell you where Ancestry obtained that record. And then scroll down a little bit further and you'll see a database description about what kinds of information is in the record. And then in this case, you'll see a link there directly to the New York Department of Health website where you can order those original records for your parents and grandparents and other family members born in the state of New York that you are trying to get information about. Okay. Next set of records. This is actually 4 databases for Liverpool, England, and they are Church of England records. And they cover baptisms, marriages, and burials. They go from 1659 all the way up through 1812. Now, 1812 might seem like a little bit of an odd cutoff, right? But there were some changes in the laws and the way that records were kept. If you've done English research, you know, for example, that in 1837, they started doing civil registration, meaning the government was recording births, marriages, and deaths. And so prior to that, it was almost entirely the domain of the church to keep track of that information. And then in England, starting in 1837, the government also started keeping track of that information. So these records are a little bit older. So if you have to get your family back through the civil registration to that 1837 time period, and then before that is when you're going to use those church records. These are specific to Liverpool. And these 4 databases have existed on Ancestry for quite a while. As a matter of fact, if you come in here to the card catalog, you'll see them listed right here, Liverpool, England. We've got them broken out into separate databases. And if you hover over the database, just move your mouse over the title, you see the little pop-up card. That little pop-up card will show you when these records were originally published on Ancestry, which in this case was all the way back in April of 2011. And then you'll see an updated publication date, which in this case is just this past month, July of 2018. So these databases have existed on Ancestry, but essentially what we've done is we've gone through and we've added about 1 million records to this particular collection of Liverpool Church of England records. So additional images and additional indexes to these particular collections. So if you've looked for family members in these records in the past, be sure to check them out again to see if there are new records that have been added that pertain to your family. Now, there are a lot of reasons that this happens. Sometimes it's because more records become available because of privacy laws. Sometimes databases get updated because the archive has found some additional records in their collection that belong in this particular set of records. Sometimes it's because we had imaged records and it just takes longer in some cases to index those records. Sometimes it's because we've imaged the records and the record quality or the image quality was so poor that it was difficult to index. And so in some cases, we actually go back to the archive and try to recreate an original digital image from the original records as opposed to from the microfilm or microfiche, whatever format Ancestry received those records in. So there's a lot of reasons that databases get updated, but you'll notice here in the card catalog again, there's always going to be a little updated tag as opposed to the new tag on that database when we've added information in a significant way to that set of records that will affect the way that you can search it or find the things that you're looking for. So again, if you have family from Liverpool, be sure to go and spend some time with those records. Last set of records I want to highlight this month, and we have added some other things, you can check them out in the card catalog, but this particular set of records is from Cambridgeshire, England. And it is 1.7 million records in 2 databases. We have juror books and we have electoral registers. So electoral registers, of course, are going to be the larger collection. It's going to be a record of everybody who registered to vote. So you'll get information like who's living in a particular address, their political affiliation. Electoral registers are, much like city directories, a great way to fill in the gaps in between census records. So you can track people. The important thing about electoral registers as far as it relates to age is you can start to see who in the household turns voting age. And so you have this opportunity to see that. And so they're a really great genealogical resource. Then juror books, of course, are the people who are called to serve on juries. Anytime you can get court records, you're going to have some interesting details in there that sometimes may not seem particularly genealogically relevant to those of you who are just collecting names and dates and places. But anytime we can add context or color or relationships, and when I talk about relationships, I'm not talking just about biological relationships, but that fan club concept that we've talked about before. Anytime you can add that to your family story, it enriches it and it increases the opportunity that you have to continue to make more discoveries. So those Cambridgeshire records are online as well. You can find those in the card catalog. Well, that is all I have for you today. Hopefully that was useful information. If you have any questions, like always, you can just leave them here in the YouTube comments. I do check those and respond as necessary. If you have suggestions for upcoming episodes of The Barefoot Genealogist, you can email me. The email address is there on your screen. Just send me your topics. And then on the Facebook page, the Ancestry Facebook page, I have updated the coming events for the next couple of months. So the topics for August and September have already been selected. I'll be reviewing those email suggestions for you, and we'll get that October, November calendar put out as quickly as possible. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.